going. I am certain we have a lot to handle. Good evening. Welcome to the applicants, board members, and members of the public. You are attending the November 14th, 2023 meeting of the City of Bangor's Planning Board. My name is Reese Perkins. I'm the chairman of the board. I'll introduce you to other board members. Starting from my far right is member Michael Bazinet. And then next is Vice Chairman Ted Brush. Next is Don Mahar. Next is Ken Hune. Immediately to my right, on my left, Jonathan Boucher. And beyond him is Tricia Hayes. Josh Saucier is also our alternate member. He is up in the back. And he will be voting if any members are absent or recused. He may also join in deliberations on any agenda item. Board members are volunteers from the city's community. They do this work for free. City staff members in attendance this evening include Development Director Ann Krieg. She is up here behind me. City Solicitor Dave Sevchek to her left. Planning Officer Anya Collette on my far left. Congratulations, Anya. She came down but is moving up. And City Engineer John Terrio over on the far back right. Sound and video are provided by Communications Coordinator Cody Vigu and his crew. We thank them all for their help with this meeting. A couple little housekeeping items. I would like to remind everyone to please silence their cell phones during the meeting. It's also respectful to not overtalk somebody when they're speaking. Also, I would remind everyone to speak up. I'm trying to speak up right now. Hopefully you can hear me back there. We've had some complaints about the sound quality in this room. They are rebuilding this building, and I think in that process, they'll improve that. But right now, this is what we've got. If anyone feels they can't hear well, they're certainly welcome to move up closer. They can move their chair closer. There's empty chairs up here. There are also on this table right down here, there are 2 hearing units, which can be put on and you can hear through a microphone or a earpiece rather than listening to me directly. So feel free to use those if you feel you need to. Tonight's meeting is a special meeting to start the process of considering a land development permit application. I provide the following information in that regard. Land development permits, commonly known as site plan review, are reviewed to ensure compliance with city code as to parking, driveways, stormwater management, lighting and landscaping and buffering, building location, environmental impacts, and shoreland zoning as may be applicable. We also ensure the plan meets the dimensional requirements for the project's zoning district. We review larger site plans that trigger site location development for the main DEP as well under their requirements. Some uses are conditional uses that have specific conditions and requirements we use to review the project. State statute also outlines the requirements for subdivision review, and the city has additional standards as to roadway and utility specifications. Subdivision is primarily defined as a development with 3 or more lots or dwelling units. The board ultimately endorses a plan that will go to the Registry of Deeds if the plan is approved. The Land Development Code may be found on the city's website. The application this evening is for a project known as the Main Woods Project. It is off Lancaster Street. This project was previously reviewed and approved by this planning board, but after appeal to the Superior Court, was remanded back to the board for further review. As such, this project is being presented to this board this evening as a new application. Later on this evening, we will hear more about this project from the applicant. But first, we will consider conflicts of interest and then enter an executive session in order to have the city solicitor provide us with further legal advice on the matter. In the interest of time and efficiency, public comment on this project will not occur until the next meeting scheduled on November 21st. So after, I should just fill you in a little bit, after the executive session, we will come back and we will then go into some further actions, and it will be at that time when the applicant will present. So, conflict of interest. I am the first item of interest in this one. In 2022, and prior years, I was a home inspector and occasionally performed home inspections for the applicant's clients. However, the clients were home buyers who were referred by the applicant to at least 3 home inspectors. They were free to choose any of these or sometimes choose one of their own. I retired from that work in September of 2022. I have not performed home inspections since. The applicant was never my client directly. The client was always the home buyer. In my opinion, there was never a conflict of interest. I never was, nor do I now benefit financially from the applicant. So I open this up for board members to discuss. And if there is no discussion, then we can move to a motion.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
could I have the floor?
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure. Did you say that you have not done home inspections since September of 2022, or you now have done it?
Have not.
You have not. Okay. I just want to make sure.
That's fine. Maybe poor choice of words. I last did a home inspection in September of 2022. Any discussion, board members? Member Hume? A motion?
Motion that there's no conflict of interest.
Do I have a second? Member Brush? I'm going to do a roll call vote. Member Bazinet? Member Boucher?
No conflict.
Member Brush? Member Hayes?
No conflict.
Member Hume?
No conflict.
Member Meager?
No conflict.
And since I don't vote, Member Saucier?
There's no conflict.
So I stay in the meeting. That is the first, and it's a unanimous vote of no conflict on myself. The next member that we have a concern with is Member Mahar, and I'll let him speak.
Thank you. My expectation of where the conflict on my part maybe felt to occur could be that I am an employee of Casella Waste Systems. In that capacity, it's hourly. It's very part-time, about 7% of a full-time equivalent so far in calendar 2023. I have no decision-making authority on anything regarding Casella. I simply come in on an hourly basis when somebody asks me to. I also own Casella stock, but in both the employment capacity and in the stock capacity, nothing about the project that is being discussed has any financial implication to me. And I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Sure. So just to tie that all up, the concern seems to come from the housing association or eventually the occupants of these houses may be able to choose a trash company to use, which could be Casella.
That's correct. Casella could be the service provider for solid waste collection, transportation, and disposal. But I have no connection to that part of Casella at all.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to add that the applicant has indicated verbally to me that they, if the board members did feel that this was a conflict, that they are prepared to use a different company for their trash removal.
Thank you, Director Krieg. Do we have any perspective as to the percent of business that this housing development might be as a whole of Casella? It's very, very little, correct?
Well, Casella's annual revenue for 2022, the most complete year that we have, was in excess of $1 billion. So this contract, I'm not sure how many zeros after a decimal place one would have to provide for that to be the fraction of what it is for Casella's total business.
Thank you, Member Mahar. Any other questions, Member Bazinet?
You didn't negotiate the contract.
No, I had no involvement with it.
You don't have any current negotiating authority. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board members? Seeing none, could I have a motion? Member Bazinet,
I'll put a motion forth that Member Mahar has no conflict.
do I have a second?
Yeah, second.
Member Boucher, thank you. I'm gonna do a roll call vote. Member Bazinet,
No conflict.
Member Boucher,
No conflict.
Member Brush,
No conflict.
Member Hayes,
No conflict.
Member Hume,
No conflict.
and myself. No conflict. Member Saucier,
There's no conflict.
and we have unanimous no conflict. That disperses with Member Mahar's issues. And any others? Do we have any other board members who have concerns? Member Saucier.
Joshua Saucier, in my prior capacity as district engineer for Bangor Water District, I did review part of the technical review for this project as far as capacity. I actually didn't conduct the technical review of what was actually going in the ground for the final services and things like that. I did provide a letter to city staff affirming that we would have capacity to serve the subdivision. And since this submission is essentially the same submission as what we had before, the current district engineer used my submission as a reference for that. I'm now general manager of Bangor Water District. I bypass any of the planning processes that come into our office, and they go straight to the district engineer. So I avoid that, but this was sort of a remnant of when I was district engineer. The only potential for conflict here was that it may have represented a conversation that happened outside of the open public process, where I provided an email as far as capacity to serve, which is now part of the record.
On the previous application you're speaking of?
I provided that email and it was essentially just reused for this one.
Thank you. So it's become part of the public record at this point. Thank you. So I'm not sure I heard you directly, Member Saucier, but you don't see any conflict from your view?
I don't see any conflict. We've reviewed it objectively. There's no benefit really to the water district or to myself personally.
Thank you. Any board member comments, questions on Member Saucier? Seeing none, I would go for a motion on Member Saucier's conflict of interest. Member Hume?
Sure. Yeah, I move that there's make a motion that there's no conflict for Josh Saucier.
And do I have a second? Member Brush, thank you. And roll call vote, Member Bazinet,
No conflict.
Member Boucher,
No conflict.
Member Brush,
No conflict.
Member Hayes,
No conflict.
Member Hume,
No conflict.
Member Mahar,
No conflict.
and the chair, no conflict. So it is unanimous, no conflicts. Okay, with that, we are going to move to executive session. Before I get to a motion on that, The executive session will be held with the board members and the city solicitor only in the legal office, which is on the second floor. So all of us will head down to the second floor legal office. If you go down the stairs, go towards the back of the building, you'll see a sign there. We can all do it together. Excuse me. Other staff members will not attend that meeting. No action can be taken during the executive session and no other matters can be discussed. Member Brush, do you have a motion on this item?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that the planning board go into executive session pursuant to one MRS section 4056E for consultation with the city attorney concerning the legal rights and duties of the planning board, particularly in light of the court's order in the litigation pertaining to this matter.
Thank you, Member Brush. Do I have a second?
Second,
Member Bazinet, thank you. Roll call vote. Member Bazinet. A yes vote would be to go into executive session.
yes.
Member Boucher,
Yes.
Member Brush,
Yes.
Member Hayes,
Yes.
Member Hume,
Yes.
Member Mahar,
Yes.
and Member Perkins, Chair, yes. So we will go into executive session, folks, and we will be back when we're done that. I can't tell you how long it would take. I would guess 45 minutes-ish, something like that. We'll see how long it takes and we will be Sure, didn't realize you weren't here with us. We're back to the open session of the meeting. I want to just officially announce the project as we always do. This is consideration of a land development permit application, major site development, preliminary major subdivision and conditional use for the development of 60 attached residential units and the construction of 1,950 feet of new private road along with utilities at property located on Lancaster Avenue and East Broadway, map lots 044, 043, 044, 039, 044, 040, 044, 041, 044, 058, and 044, 059. In the low-density residential district, the applicant owner is Team Properties LLC. So next thing on the agenda we will do this evening is we'll have the city solicitor just review this process that we're going to move forward with. So I'll let Dave Sevchek go ahead, Dave.
Thanks, Chair. The court, the Superior Court rule, I'm going to talk a little bit about the court's order and then about the process. The court ruled that the board erred as a matter of law by failing to classify the project as a major subdivision. The court said that the parties overlooked, that would be both sides in the litigation, as did the board, the part of the definition of major subdivision, which contemplates the construction of approved private streets. The court vacated the board's decision and remanded the matter back to the board for proceedings in accord with the court's order. The court directed the board to set forth in the record the reasons for its decision and make written findings of fact sufficient to apprise the applicant and any member of the public of the basis of the decision. And the court stated that in issuing its decision, the planning board must make findings of fact establishing that the proposed subdivision does or does not meet the required criteria. The court gave guidance on some of the things that it wants to make sure that the board does. The court's finding was not that everything had to start over. However, my suggestion to the board is that the process begin from the beginning, as it is a cleaner way to do this. One of the big problems otherwise being that there's been some turnover in the planning board since the last application was reviewed, and starting over from the beginning allows a cleaner way to proceed, and it solves the problem of bringing the new board members up to speed on all of the things, including all the documents and the videos and everything from the last time, the videos of the proceedings from the last time. So my suggestion is that it starts from the beginning. The court made some suggestions regarding guidance on finding that the application is complete, that the board must observe procedures for both preliminary and the final plat review for major subdivisions. There's a two-step application process that the court directed specifically should be followed. So there are approval standards for preliminary plat approval by the board and a separate set of standards for when the applicant seeks approval of the final plat. I'm going to suggest that the board vote separately on each of the standards applicable to the project. The court directed that, and to make the final factual findings explicit in the decision regarding the application for the land development permit. The court stated specifically that the board should evaluate and make findings based on the standards provided in the code for LDR districts, land development approval, and major subdivisions. The standards are set forth in a number of different areas of the city code, and there are a lot of them. I'm going to suggest that the board make a finding with respect to each element separately. I'm not going to go through all those right now, but they will have to be gone through at the appropriate time. So the process that I am suggesting in light of the court's order we've already started tonight. And from this point forward, I'm going to suggest that the board make some preliminary findings because the court wanted those separately made. One finding being that whether or not the application is complete. Make a finding that this will be reviewed as a major subdivision, and make a separate finding regarding whether or not whether this is a planned development under section 165-59 of the city code. The last time the project was not reviewed as a planned development, but the court suggests, and I'm going to also suggest that be made specifically if that's the case, and that the application will be reviewed as a proposed attached residential conditional use in the LDR district. Once the planning board confirms that they'll use this process going forward tonight, the applicant will be requested to make the applicant's presentation through its attorney, if they so desire. And the public hearing, I would suggest, will not take place until the 21st. And that's when the public hearing will be made on the preliminary plat review and the land development permit and conditional use. So the hearing will be from the beginning. So the public will have a chance to participate. I'm going to suggest that the chair put the appropriate limits on things. At the close of the public hearing, which won't be until at least the end of the night on the 21st. But at the close of the public hearing, I'm going to suggest that the board suggest that the applicant and any members of the public submit proposed findings with record references, and submit them to the board a week before the next meeting. The next meeting will be where the board does its preliminary plat discussion and votes. The board will discuss and vote on findings of fact, and then discuss and vote on 34 review criteria for subdivisions, 20 from the state statute and 14 additional ones from the city code for major subdivision. Then once that's completed, the board would have discussion and vote on findings with regard to the criteria for the land development permit. There are two different sections that they would review separately there. And then once that's completed, I would suggest the board should have discussion and vote on the findings with regard to the criteria for the conditional use. And there are two different sets of criteria that the board should undertake in that regard. Once all of that is completed, I would suggest that meeting end and that there be a separate meeting, because the court required a two-step process. At that time, there will be an engineer's written report that the board can review at the next meeting. The engineer's report for review of the preliminary plat for compliance with health, sanitation, and engineering standards. And then at that same meeting, the planning board would discuss and vote on the findings with regard to the final plat approval standards, which are separate. And at the very end, a final vote on whether or not the permit is approved, which would be a vote based on mathematics. And then after that would be the drafting of the written report, written findings and decision, and the board's review and signing of that. So that's the process that I'm suggesting going forward. That's all.
Thank you, Solicitor Sivchek. We, as you might imagine, all just discussed this privately first in greater detail, but more or less the same as what Solicitor Sivchek just encapsulated for you all. And we as a board will continue with a schedule sort of in that frame as he has just given. Does the board have any question or any concern immediately before we move forward on Solicitor Sebchek's schedule of matters moving forward? None. Okay, thank you. So having confirmed that, we would like to, the next item is we would like to discuss the completeness of the application. The city staff generally puts together a checklist, which they review with the applicants prior to a packet coming to us with information on a project. In this case, the new application was reviewed by planning staff and city engineers, I believe. The city engineer, at least, if not others, gave feedback to the applicant. Revisions were made, I believe, at least once, and a new checklist was created, which appeared to be acceptable to all parties. Does the board have any question on that, or can we go to a motion as to whether that's acceptable or not?
Chair, the motion would be whether the application is complete, right?
Yes, thank you.
Should, oh, I'm sorry. Should we have comments from the staff about the completeness of the application?
If the staff,
Sure. Staff recommends that the board find the application complete.
thank you, Director Krieg. Member Mahar,
I'll make a motion that the application for the Main Woods project is complete.
thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Member Hume, I will go with a roll call vote. Member Bazinet,
Application is complete.
Member Boucher,
Yes, it's complete.
Member Brush,
Yes.
Member Hayes,
Yes.
Member Hume,
Yes, complete.
Member Mahar,
Yes.
and Chair Perkins, yes, as well. So unanimous vote that the application is complete. Okay, so the next item on the agenda would be a discussion on the permitting requirements. What we have noted is that this is a major site development as defined by 165, City Code 165-111B. It is a conditional use, which is an attached residential as defined on City Code 165-128. It is not a planned development as defined by City Code 165-59, and it is a minor subdivision as the court suggested with private roadways. I'm sorry, did I say minor? It's a major subdivision. Don't want to go down that road again. No pun intended. So it's a major subdivision as the court argued, considering the private roadways which are part of it. And so I am open for any further discussion from board members, questions on that. Solicitor Sebchek, any comments on how we word that? It's 2 votes, is that correct?
Yeah, I think
We
it should
said?
be at least 2 votes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we want
Would you like me to?
a
I
motion on
think
the
there should be a
major
motion on whether this is going to be reviewed as a major subdivision.
subdivision. How about that? Member Mahar?
Yes, I would make a motion that the Main Woods project is a major subdivision.
Thank you. Do I have a second, Member Hume?
Second.
I have a second. Thank you. Roll call vote on that one. Member Bazinet? A yes vote would be agreement.
Yes.
Member Boucher?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Hayes?
Yes.
Member Hume?
Yes.
Member Mahar?
Yes.
And Chair Perkins, yes. So it is unanimous that it is a major subdivision. And so the second item to consider would be that it is a conditional use as attached residential and not a planned development as defined by 165-59. Could I
That's
get-
good wording. Yeah.
Could I get a motion on that?
Make a motion that it be put forward as stated.
Conditional use.
Ye-
LDR, which we didn't mention either, right? So it needs to be considered as
As an LD,
as in an LDR zone, conditional use,
Chair, would you like
certainly.
some help on the wording?
I love it.
All right. I would suggest that the motion be worded as that the motion is that the planning board finds that section 165-59 plan development does not apply, and that the application will be reviewed as a proposed attached residential conditional use in the LDR district.
so moved.
Do I have a second? Member Bazinet, thank you.
Seconded.
And so I'm going to go with a roll call vote. Member Bazinet,
Yes.
member Boucher,
Yes.
member Brush,
Yes.
member Hayes,
Yes.
member Hume,
Yes,
member Mahar,
Yes.
member Perkins votes yes as well. So we have that completed, which gets us on to opening presentation by the applicant, Tim. And Mr. Pease, if you would, as you go or prior to, you can let us know, but I believe we'd be happy to ask questions. If you'd like us to do that during your presentation or at the end of the presentation or what have you, just please let us know.
Yep, certainly, Mr. Chair. Chair Perkins and members of the planning board, my name is Tim Pease. I'm a lawyer with Rubman and Winchell right across the street. And by the sounds of it, we're going to spend some time together over the next few meetings. First of all, I'd like to introduce members of the team. Many of you saw me here a year ago during parts of the application, the latter part of it, and did a site walk together and so forth. On my left, I've got Ryan Lazanik. He is a lawyer in our office, and he's sitting over there running the keyboard because I want to show some things as a visual aid up on the screen for you. Over here on my right, I've got Scott Braley. He's an engineer on the project at Plymouth Engineering. So I'm going to invite him up here to the podium in a minute, and we're going to kind of tag team this. Oftentimes you see just an engineer, but because of the posture of this, I want to be more heavily involved to make sure we go through this methodically. We've got Emily Ellis, Ian Geikwood, and we've got Amy Young here as well with Plymouth Engineering. So you'll see most of us in the coming weeks as we march through this process. To your question about input, please do ask along the way. My purpose tonight is to walk through the application, the highlights of the project, and the criteria. It's going to seem tedious, but I don't think we really have a choice. There's just a lot to go through here. And my job is to make sure that we give you the full picture of the project. So if you've got questions along the way, I'm going to try to look for puzzled looks. And if I see them, I may invite a question. But please go ahead and interject if you've got anything you'd like to say. So the purpose of my presentation tonight is to describe the project, talk a little bit about the procedural history in addition to what the solicitor said, and then go through the ordinance criteria of what you need to apply. And look, I was involved in this project before, and it's no secret that it's generated a lot of controversy. And I actually thought a bit about that in the last few months. But why? I've been doing this work for over 20 years, and this particular project has generated a lot of interest. So, and I remember when I met with Ann over a year ago, and we talked about this as being an infill project. And you'll see when we look at the sketches what I mean by that. There's basically 4 roads, I-95, Essex, Lancaster, and East Broadway that surround this. And you've got properties that are along those roads, but in the middle, there's over 12 acres. And it's been vacant, underutilized for a period of time. And there's been a move over the last 25 years or so to really focus development on those infill areas. And it makes sense. I looked at a planning office of a state out west, and it says the term infill development refers to building within unused and underutilized lands within existing development patterns, typically but not exclusively in urban areas. Infill development is critical to accommodating growth and redesigning our cities to be environmentally and socially sustainable. What does infill development give you? It reduces greenhouse gas emissions and improves regional air quality by reducing the distance people need to travel. It reduces the conversion of agricultural land that's farther out from the city. It reduces the impact on sensitive habitats in those areas and the impact on open space in those areas to allow development within an urban growth area, which this particular development is. It reduces the cost to build and maintain expensive infrastructure, facilitates healthy and environmentally friendly active transportation, reduces stormwater runoff resulting in flooding and pollution of waterways. It brings vibrancy, community, and social connections to neighborhoods. Now, if you go home tonight and you Google infill development, you're going to find in that first page a description of what you typically find in terms of opposition to infill development. And that's what we have here too. It's people are concerned about the loss of open space in their backyards. They're concerned about increased traffic and congestion. And that's essentially what you have here. Now, it's going to come out in the form of concerns about architectural style and so forth. But really the heart of it is it's changing the way that people have viewed their backyards in this area. And we'll see when we look at some of the aerials that people have used that area for swimming pools and gardens and so forth. But again, in terms of planning, this is an appropriate place for development. And I would point out that it's not a popularity contest whether a project gets approved. It's not a referendum vote, and name calling and disparaging and threatening and intimidating has no place in this permitting process. And so I would ask that as you go through the process, we want to be respectful. We want to hear from people who have things to say, especially if they're constructive things to say. But degrading the applicant or their motives is just not appropriate. The test is whether the applicant can meet the development standards. And that's what our job is to do tonight, is to show you and walk through that we have. This project is very straightforward. We're talking about 30 relatively small duplexes on frost walls, so no basements. And again, bordered by those 4 areas. There's 2 roads. There's going to be internal and external egress and 2 different parts. And that's going to result in something important, which is removing a dead end road along East Broadway. As part of this project, you'll recall, if you were part of it before, that there was a sidewalk created. There was a lit crosswalk created as well. And there's going to be improved water quality and fire flows. We know that from recent correspondence. And on-site stormwater treatment is going to occur as well. Another thing I think you should know is that this is not the first time a project has been proposed in this particular area. 17 years ago, in fact, it was proposed for development. The development didn't occur within the 2-year period of time, and the permits did expire. Then last year in June, Team Properties applied to Bangor for a land development permit to begin the project. And as the solicitor noted, there were a number of meetings where there was public participation, a 5th meeting for a vote, and also a site meeting to walk the area. And ultimately, the project was approved, and construction has begun over the last several months. And Scott is going to be able to give you an overview of what has happened in the meantime and what the project consists of at this point in time. I'm not going to go into what I think the court said. I think the solicitor did a good job of that. But instead, I think at this point, I want to put up C1. So Ryan, if you could go to those plans. It's the next one. So let's see if we can rotate that, hopefully. All right, this is where I'm going to invite Scott up and I'm going to give him a pointer. It's even turned on. This is high tech for me. Okay, can we make that a little bit bigger? All right, that's good right there. Okay, so as I said, this is a project area and you can see the hard boundaries, but Scott, if you could outline where 95 is, Essex, Lancaster, and so forth. Let me show you the button.
I don't think you can laser print on a TV. Yeah, use your finger.
There it is. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
I've been in that predicament before.
For those of you that aren't aware, and those of you that have seen it before, the primary entrance about Lancaster here. Essex Street is here. One was the easterly side.
Hey, Scott, hold on just a sec. Hey, Mike? Could you turn your mic on and just turn it towards Scott so we could hear him a little bit and have that just recorded? Thank you.
Does that work better? Okay, so again, the project is bounded by Lancaster on the north, Essex Street on the east, the interstate on the south, and East Broadway on the west, which you can't see all of East Broadway, they come together. The plan is just too big for the site, but, and then access is off Lancaster with a throughway to an extension to East Broadway such that it is no longer a dead end. So there is through circulation for the project. And as it was mentioned earlier, Firefly is the second road that comes off of Wildwood Drive. And that's the general layout with the buildings. I'm not sure where you want to go next, Jim.
So next, can you describe what has happened so far since the approval from last year to now?
Sure. The project construction started. Primary construction access was off Lancaster, which was what was mandated by this board in its original approval. Wildwood has been constructed all the way through to just before the East Broadway completion, although now that is also gravelled. Firefly is gravelled. The Wildwood is paved for the most part. Sewer, water, and storm drain utilities are all in on Wildwood. Firefly has the utilities in except for stormwater, and it has a gravel base at this point. Can you go to the, like, two more, like three, just a. Right here, this is being the grading plan. The only reason I wanted Ryan to go to there is to show that the wet pond, which is the primary treatment for stormwater on the site, has been roughed in. It's pretty typical that it'll be done earlier in the project to act as a temporary erosion and sediment control measure. So that is in place. And so again, the grading for the road and paving is all done on Wildwood. Firefly is gravelled. Sewer and water are basically done on the project, except for the connection of the water at the end of East Broadway. The sewer is down and connected at the city system at Alden Street. So in reality, the project is, from an infrastructure standpoint, it could have been completed this fall if it hadn't been for the court's action and the stop work order. It would have been completed this fall. It's that far along. And there are 3 buildings which have been started. One is closed in, one is up and missing the roof. The trusses are up, but the roofing is not on, and one is just the foundation and a couple of walls. So there are 3 various stages of completion of those 3 buildings. So that's where we stand as of the stop work order. Now, you may hear that there's been work going on since the stop work order. We met multiple times with the DEP and city staff because the DEP The stormwater permit for this, which was pending when we were before you last year, has been completed and is in your package. And the DEP wanted to make sure that during the stoppage, that there was not significant erosion and uncontrolled runoff from the site. And so they wanted a certain amount of stuff done, even though the court order had been issued and the stop work order had been issued. There needed to be things done to stabilize that. And that was an effort between the city, the DEP, and the applicant. It was not just the applicant moving forward on things. But that is in the process. That stabilization is currently in the process of getting that closed down until this process is completed.
Scott, what are the gray areas on the plan?
The gray areas here are existing tree lines that will remain. The light bubbled areas you'll see like right here are where there were existing trees that have been cleared in order for the grading and the project to be done. The project area in bulk was primarily a field. A lot of you have been out there during the site walk, as you're well aware, is pretty much field. And then what you will see is the areas where you see these plantings, they're representative of the subtype 1 class A, type A subtype 1 buffer that has to be planted because there's not sufficient vegetation to create the screening and buffering that is required by the city standards.
Scott, an issue came up about wetland impact. Can you address that?
Correct, yes, right, I'm sorry, you passed me that. I went back and double checked, and the wetland that is of discussion is right here, where the grading for the wet pond is taking place. That wetland impact is 2,500 and it's 2,500 and some square feet. It's less than the 4,300 square foot threshold for DEP. So there is not a wetland permit associated with that. The sewer extension down through here and down to Alden Street, that's also a wetland area. Wetland disturbance for utilities is considered a permit by rule. That permit by rule is in place. So the permitting for that extension is done, and there's no permitting necessary for that area related to the wet pond because it's not a significant number to get to the threshold.
Scott, I worked my way up to the project from Broadway about a month ago and saw a lot of disturbance along the way on Alden and thought, what the heck's going on up here? But I believe that's a DOT project.
Yeah, there's actually, I was really surprised when I came up through there one day as well. The DOT is in the process of getting ready to do a bridge replacement. And so they're creating temporary on and off ramps. John, I know, knows a lot more about it than I do, but down in this area, corner of Alden, where we're tying in is where the DOT is literally doing a bunch of disturbance down there themselves to deal with that temporary on and off ramps in the bridge replacement project.
And that has nothing to do with.
Has nothing to do with this project or the applicant's work.
Scott, a year ago, there was a lot of concern about ledge on the property. Now that there's been some work done, what's the finding on that?
Well, as I said, the infrastructure for sewer and water is in on Wildwood. It's also in on Firefly, except for the storm drain catch basins on Firefly. And there's been no blasting. There had to be no blasting. Everything was diggable and there was no ledge encountered in any of that work.
I'm going to pause there before I jump into the criteria. That was kind of a try to get a level set on where the project is right now. Any questions before I jump in? Okay. Scott, I'm not sure you should sit down yet. We've got a ways to go. I've thought a lot about how to present this and what's the best way to do it. And I think we just have to dig in and roll up our sleeves and get to it. I'd like to cover the subdivision requirements first. And as the solicitor mentioned, there's 34 total between the state and the local ordinance. So if I've got a copy of 165 here in front of me, but if you wanted to follow along or just listen in, then I'm on 165-128C, major subdivision preliminary plat approval standards. And there's a number of these. When reviewing a preliminary plat for a major subdivision, the planning board shall consider the following criteria. 1, the subdivision shall meet the state of Maine guidelines for subdivision approval contained in 30A MRSA 4404. I'm going to take those second. I want to march down through the rest of the ones here in your ordinance and then have Scott talk about those as necessary. As you can imagine, these are standards that apply to any subdivision, and sometimes they may not apply to a particular development. If we don't think they apply, that we'll tell you that. Of course, it's up to you whether you think they do or not. Next, the plat shall conform to existing zoning regulations regarding lot dimensions and areas. Scott, are you able to address that?
Sure, the project's in the LDR zone.
Hey,
which we're-
Scott, hey,
Oh.
find a microphone if you would. Yep. Thank you.
The project is in the LDR zone, using Schedule B from the ordinance. We find that for attached residential dwellings. And this, if you have plans up in front of you, or there is a table on sheet C1 that has all of this stuff in there. The lot size has to be 3 acres minimum. We have over 12 acres. Front and side setbacks are 30 and 25 feet respectively. Those are shown on C1 as well, and we exceed those in all locations. We can have 5 dwelling units per acre. We have less than 5 because if you look at the ratio of 60 to 12.09 acres, we're just under 5, but we do have less than 5 per acre. Maximum dwelling units per building is 6. We're limited to 2. Maximum height of the building is 35 feet. We are at 26 feet 4 inches. And this is where I slide down a little bit. The other numbers off escape my brain. The minimum open space requirement is 35%, and we are at 75, I believe. I'm sorry. There we go. Thank you. Open space ratio 0.3, we're at 0.24. I'm sorry, that was the impervious surface ratio. Open space requirement is 35%. We're at 78.
Okay, hold on just a sec. Mike, can I get you to get that microphone? I'm sorry to do this, but we really do need to.
Yeah, I apologize. So what we find is this is the table, and it's on the plans that are in your packages that comes from Schedule B in the ordinance. This was a request for staff, how big the lot had to be, and then the LDR, the minimum lot size typically is 8,000 square feet, but because this is the conditional use for attached residential, it's 3 acres. And we have the 12, as I mentioned. Lot width is 100. We have almost 220 on East Broadway, Alden End, and 50 on Lancaster. Minimum front setback is 30 feet. We're at 122 to the nearest building from the 2 frontages off Lancaster and East Broadway. The side setbacks are 20, we're at 22 feet. And again, maximum height, 35 feet. We're at 26 feet 4 inches. Impervious surface ratio 0.3, we're at 0.246. Open space required is 35%, we're at 76%. And the dwelling units we already went through, the maximum lot coverage is 25%, and we are at 8.8%. So if you go with regard to conforming to the existing zoning regulations regarding lot dimensions and areas, those are the numbers that are important, and those are what we have.
Next, at least one side of every lot shall abut an approved public street, a planning board approved private street, or a proposed public street.
This is where the ordinance is looking at a subdivision like we typically think of a subdivision where you have a road and you have a bunch of residential lots. This subdivision is because it's a unit subdivision and we're dealing with 60 units on the 12 acres. Our frontage we have one lot and the frontage is on Lancaster and on East Broadway, and we meet those requirements for the widths.
Next, the side lot lines shall be at right angles to straight street lines and radial to curved street lines unless a variation from this will provide improved solar access.
And again, this is directed at a typical residential subdivision. But we do come off Lancaster and East Broadway at 90 degrees, so that we are coming in as directed by the ordinance.
Before we get too far down, Reese, can I ask a question?
Certainly.
Okay.
Member Saucier, yeah.
How are you calculating the open space? And this may be more a planning question than, do we count everything that's not developed as open space?
That's correct.
We don't have contiguous or useful or?
It's the open space is everything. Oh, okay, Ann, go ahead. No, I'd say the way we interpret it, I believe staff agrees, is that the open space is anything that's not impervious, basically at this point. Rooftops, driveways, roadways. And so all of that green space, if you will, is considered part of the open space.
And that's how our definition.
In the case where there's a condo association or homeowner association, as long as there's access for everybody in that development to use that open space, then that can be considered open
I guess
space.
you're way over anyway, so it wouldn't
Right.
really. Okay, thank you.
And just to follow up on that, the covenants indicate that when you buy a unit, you're buying that physical unit and the ground underneath it. Everything else is considered common space. Next, corner lots shall have adequate width to permit required building setback from both streets.
Again, this is geared towards a regular residential subdivision. We don't have any corner lots. This is all one lot. Although both, I mean, we've got the buildings back from both intersections within the complex.
Next, all proposed streets shall have provide connection with existing streets.
We have the main street through is Wildwood. It's connected to Lancaster and to East Broadway. And then Firefly is connected to Wildwood. So there are no dead ends. We have two means of egress and no dead ends.
Next, streets shall be laid out so that no intersection shall be at an angle of less than 60 degrees.
They're all at 90 degrees.
Next, there shall be no permanent dead end streets without a paved turnaround having a minimum outside diameter of 100 feet.
Again, that gets back to the fact that we don't have any dead ends, so there are no cul-de-sacs. We connect at Lancaster and East Broadway.
Next, land designated on the official map for right-of-way purposes shall be set aside in the subdivision for that purpose and deeded to the city.
Yeah, this is not applicable because this is staying a private street. There is no right-of-way to develop or to deed over to the city.
Next is number 10, street grades shall be not less than 1% nor more than 6%.
In the project plans, the design meets that. Which is further down in the weeds of the design stuff that John has reviewed.
Next, number 11, right-of-way widths. And Scott, there's a number of requirements in here for.
Right, and I think
address
this gets back to, we're not creating a right-of-way to deed to the city. This is basically one lot with this private street through it.
Next is collector or arterial streets.
It's not applicable, it's neither.
Next is the number and spacing of access drive shall at a minimum be restricted to no more than one two-way drive every 120 feet of frontage on such streets, et cetera.
And then we just have one on each end at each frontage. So there's no interconnecting streets that are separated by less than that distance.
Interconnection of street and pedestrian systems is the next one.
Again, the streets connect at Broadway and East Broadway in Lancaster. With regard to pedestrian ways, there was no access to the Essex Street sidewalk until this project. The board in its last review required a sidewalk be constructed between the end of our development at Lancaster and Essex Street. That has been done if you haven't been out there. And as well, the walking path will connect to Essex Street sidewalk on the opposite end. And if that's up here. So we've actually created a pedestrian loop, if you will, between the walking trail and the sidewalks. Along with the crosswalk that has been put in at Essex with the flashing beacons.
Okay, and then there's a catch-all. The preliminary plat shall contain all the information required in 1 through 14 that we just talked about. Okay, I'm going to pause there. That's the ordinance subdivision requirements for major subdivision. All right, I'm going to go now to the statutory review criteria in 30A 4404. When adopting any subdivision regulations and when reviewing any subdivision for approval, the municipal reviewing authority, planning board, shall consider the following criteria, and before granting approval must determine that: 1, pollution. The proposed subdivision will not result in undue water or air pollution. In making this determination, it shall at least consider: A, the elevation of the land above sea level and its relation to the floodplains, the nature of soils and subsoils, and their ability to adequately support waste disposal, the slope of the land and its effect on effluents, the availability of streams for disposal of effluents, applicable state and local health and water resource rules and regulations. Scott, could you address that standard?
Sure. There's a couple of important factors there. Number one, we're connected to the city's stormwater, city's sewer system. So all the stuff about effluents and things like that are not applicable to this project. The same with stormwater. We are doing the stormwater. The Chapter 500 DEP permit is in place, and the management system is partially constructed. Saying what else? So yeah, effluents really are not an issue. We're not in the floodplain. The slopes are such that we've been able to design the roads to very closely resemble the existing topography and stay to the 1 to 6% that the city requires. So that tells you there's no significant slopes out there. We have not encountered bedrock. So the site is a great site for this, and the pollution criteria is easily met.
Next criteria is sufficient water. The proposed subdivision has sufficient water available for the reasonably foreseeable needs of the subdivision.
And I think earlier when we were discussing Mr. Saucier's availability to be on the board or for this subject, we heard about the letter from Bangor Water District. So we know that there is ample supply of water for the project through the Bangor Water District.
And the next review criteria addresses that too: municipal water supply. The proposed subdivision will not cause an unreasonable burden on an existing water supply. So we covered that. Next one is erosion. The proposed subdivision will not cause unreasonable soil erosion or a reduction in the land's capacity to hold water so that a dangerous or unhealthy condition results.
This is addressed basically through the stormwater permit. There are basic stabilization standards that the DEP requires and the city requires of any project. This has the additional force of the Chapter 500 so that all the stormwater is actually being treated. So that is taken care of that way.
Right. Next is traffic. The proposed subdivision will not cause unreasonable highway or public road congestion or unsafe conditions with respect to the use of the highways or public roads existing or proposed. And if the proposed subdivision requires driveways or entrances onto a state or state aid highway located outside the urban compact area of an urban compact municipality as defined by Title 23, Section 754, the DOT has provided documentation indicating that the driveways or entrances conform to Title 23, Section 704, and any rules adopted under that section.
So with regard to traffic, as you're well aware, that was a hot topic last time through. Several studies were done. Number one, we're not connecting to a state aid highway. Number two, the peak hourly, or what they call the peak hour equivalents are not going over 100. So we don't need any DOT permitting. And there were several studies done last year, speed studies, volume studies, I think the average speed found on the abutting streets was like 26 miles per hour. So this project does not create an unreasonable traffic impact.
And for purposes of the presentation tonight, we're not going to walk you through the application. We're going to talk about it generally, but we can certainly get into all the documents on that at a later date. Next item is sewage disposal. The proposed subdivision will provide for adequate sewage waste disposal and will not cause an unreasonable burden on municipal services if they're utilized.
And in your package, there is a letter from the city of Bangor saying that they have adequate capacity for the connection of the sewer services to the city's collection system.
Next, municipal solid waste disposal. The proposed subdivision will not cause an unreasonable burden on the municipality's ability to dispose of solid waste if municipal waste services are to be utilized.
And this project will be privately contracted for the hauler. Right now, the tentative hauler is Casella. That's who we provided the letter from, saying that they could take on the contract. So municipal services won't be impacted.
All right, next, aesthetic, cultural, and natural values. The proposed subdivision will not have an undue adverse effect on the scenic or natural beauty of the area, aesthetics, historic sites, significant wildlife habitat identified by the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife or the municipality, or rare and irreplaceable natural areas, or any public rights for physical or visual access to the shoreline.
None of the state agencies map anything here of significant value, historic, Department of Conservation, rare plants, IF&W of endangered species or deer wintering or any of that stuff. None of that stuff is a factor here.
To the extent this would take into account the aesthetic areas of the existing neighborhood, I think the conditional use requirements that we're going to get into about building bulk and so forth will address that. Next, conformity with local ordinances and plans. The proposed subdivision conforms with a duly adopted subdivision regulation or ordinance, comprehensive plan, development plan, or land use plan, if any. In making this determination, the municipal reviewing authority may interpret these ordinances and plans.
I always get a kick out of this one in the state of Orange because that's why we're here, is for the municipal ordinances to be reviewed and you folks to make a finding.
Next, financial and technical capacity. The subdivider has adequate financial and technical capacity to meet the standards of this section.
The information's been submitted on financial capacity, technical capacity. We've worked on a number of projects like this. And the applicant has several developments in the city that are successful and thriving. And so I think that proves their technical ability to manage one of these projects.
Next is surface waters, outstanding river segments. I'm going to spare everyone reading you the almost full page here.
Yeah, and it's not applicable. We're not discharging anything to an outstanding river segment.
Next, groundwater. The proposed subdivision will not, alone or in conjunction with existing activities, adversely affect the quality or quantity of groundwater.
Again, we're on public water. We are not taking water from the ground nor discharging it back to the ground. So there's no impact on groundwater.
Flood areas, you addressed that already?
Already, yeah, we are not within a flood zone.
Next item, number 14, freshwater wetlands.
We discussed that earlier. There is a permit by rule in place for the sewer extension from the DEP for that temporary disturbance of wetlands, and the permanent disturbance related to the wet pond is less than the threshold value for DEP permitting.
Next item is farmland.
Other than the gardens that may not have been there over the years, this is not considered farmland.
River, stream, or brook.
We're not discharging to any of those. Ultimately, obviously, the city's stormwater system, the interstate stormwater system ends up in the Penobscot. We are in the Penobscot watershed, so, but we're not discharging directly to any of those.
Stormwater.
Again, we're under the guise of the Chapter 500 for the DEP, and that permit is in place and in your package for stormwater management with a combination of 4 under-drain soil filters and a wet pond that keeps the basically 2 watersheds of the existing conditioned site going in the same direction that they currently do.
Spaghetti lots are prohibited is the next item.
It's 1 lot, no spaghetti lots being created.
Next one is lake phosphorus concentration.
We are not discharging to a lake.
Next, impact on adjoining municipality.
It's got to get across the Penobscot, so I don't think Brewer cares.
And land subject to liquidation harvesting.
This is not applicable.
Halfway there. Any questions about those standards? Next, I want to go through 165-99. So this is, as we've talked about before, this project is in the LDR district. And 165-99A gives a statement of purpose, and I think it's important to start there. The low-density residential district is established to provide for both traditional and innovative family living on both individual lots and in attached development arrangements, which is what we're talking about, to promote a stable, healthy, and desirable residential environment. Basic requirements in B, buildings or land used or occupied, and buildings or structures erected, constructed, reconstructed, moved, or structurally altered wherever permitted uses or conditional uses shall comply with the requirements of this section, and then Articles 2 through 12, and the specific development standards of Article 19 of this chapter. So you can see there's a lot going on there. Basically says this project is subject to everything that's in 165. So we've done our best to scour 165 to make sure that we're covering all the odds and ends. But you focus on Part C. So 165-99C lists the permitted uses, and it outlines a number of those, but we're not under C. We're a conditional use. So a conditional use is Part D of 99. And that reads, subject to planning board approval under the provisions of 165-9. So there we go, another new section that we need to look at. The following uses may be permitted in this district. Attached residential, provided that A, B, C, D, E, and F are met. So I'm going to go through 165-9 in just a moment, but I'd like to walk through the requirements in D, 1, A through F right now. So I'm going to ask Scott to come back up. The first requirement is that the site development contains a minimum area of 3 acres.
We have 12 acres.
The next requirement is such site development does not exceed 5 dwelling units per acre.
And we do not, we're at 4.96. And again, this is that table that is on sheet C1 in your package if you want to look at it.
Okay, such site development meets the requirements for such a development in Article 19. So let's go there. 165, 135, and 136. So Article 19 generally has district site development standards. And it says for the purpose of this article is to place all of the use development standards in one place in a simple format as possible. And so that is in 165-134. That's the purpose statement. 165-135 talks about buffer yards and so forth, but I'm going to get started at the top and then ask Scott to elaborate. Numerical standards, height and density concepts, yard requirements, and other measurements of development, bulk, or intensity need to be clearly understood if such standards are to be properly applied. This section explains the following terms used in the tables in this article. A, height limits. Height limitations are established by 3 factors which define a building envelope for a lot in a specific district. 1, maximum district height, the maximum limit on height at any point on a lot in any part of the district. 2, maximum building height at a minimum yard setback line. 2A, front yard is equal to minimum setback dimension. B, side yard is equal to 2 times the minimum side yard dimension. 2C, rear yard is equal to minimum rear yard dimension. And D, where a setback is less than 20 feet, maximum height at setback line is 20 feet. So let's pause there and talk about maximum height. You addressed that a little bit earlier.
Yeah, it's 35 feet. We're at 26 feet, 4 inches. Significantly less at that at the eve, which would be the closest sides to the setbacks.
And it says under A to D, where setback is less than 20 feet, maximum height at setback line is 20 feet.
And we have 20-foot side setbacks, so that's really not applicable.
Okay, moving on. A3, maximum height within buildable area is equal to maximum building height at minimum yard line plus 1 foot above building line maximum for each additional foot distance from the property line up to the district maximum height, as prescribed in the district regulations.
And again, we are outside the setbacks everywhere, and we're 9 feet below the maximum height of the district.
The maximum building height limitation at the minimum yard setback line shall not apply in the downtown development district, Bass Park District, Airport Development District, or Waterfront Development District. We're not in those districts. A5.
That's just that sketch.
The building envelope sketch below illustrates the interaction of these 3 factors on height control. You applied these?
Yes.
135B, floor area ratio. Floor area ratio is the maximum that the ratio of the building gross floor area divided by lot area for a given lot, and it cannot be exceeded for the use of that district.
And again, the maximum floor area ratio is, oops, thank you. Lot coverage is 25%. Required, we're at 8.8%. And if, I mean, this is talking floor area ratio, which actually in the code is the lot cover. It's the footprint of the building as opposed to the impervious surface ratio, which is 0.3, and we're at 0.246.
135C, impervious surface ratio. The impervious surface ratio is the maximum percent of surface area of a lot or site which is not to be loamed, reseeded, or revegetated after construction.
Which is why I went to that next point. It's 0.3 in the zone, and we're at 0.246. So we're under that max.
All right, the next section is very long, and I don't think there's any point in reading it because we talked about it a bit before, but I'd like you to elaborate. Buffer yards.
Buffer yard for this is a type A subtype, and we're using subtype 1 for the width factor. And again, you can see, as we said in this is zoomed in, but it's kind of good, where we have put these lines through what appear to be plantings are areas where we have to add to what is there naturally to create that buffer. And so that is the buffer that is required, and that is the buffer that is being proposed and will be implemented.
That wraps up 135. Now 165-136 building standards, egress door orientation. This requirement applies to land development and or building permits received on March 18th, 2021 or thereafter for the construction of principal buildings containing dwellings in the urban residential 1 and urban residential 2 districts.
So that's not applicable.
And that's it. Okay. Now we go back to where we were in 165-99. And we just went through Article 19, which was D1C. Next is such site development receives approval under Article XV1. XV1 is the land development permit standards. I'm going to pause on those till a little bit later. D1E, such site development has water service in the Bangor Water District. We covered that. F, such site development has sewer service from the city of Bangor. We covered that already. Okay, any questions about 199?
You started that conversation, I think, by saying that this was, the code said it was making it simpler.
So
It did say
I
that, right?
use my inside voice.
Okay.
and said, I wonder if they think this is simpler.
For future reference, as you went through it, did it seem simpler or not? Not, right? Okay, thank you.
But it's thorough.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to go back to the first paragraph of conditional use under 165-99D, which says subject to planning board approval under the provisions of 165-9. So we flip back to 165-9. All right. The planning board is hereby authorized to grant conditional uses hereinafter set forth in this chapter in specific cases, after public notice and hearing, subject to appropriate conditions and safeguards. No conditional uses shall be granted unless specific provisions therefore are made in this chapter. All conditional uses shall be subject to land development permit approval as provided for in Article XB1, which I mentioned we're going to cover in just a few minutes. Standards for conditional uses. Before the planning board shall grant a conditional use, it shall have determined that 4 things. 1, the development standards and use conditions of the district in which the property in question is located have been complied with. Conditional uses which also require variance of development or other standards shall not be granted. We just walked through all of the standards for LDR1, except for the land development permit standards, which are going to save to the end. So in our view, we've met A1 under 165-9. 165-9A2 says the proposed use will not create unreasonable traffic congestion or hazardous conditions on contiguous or adjacent streets. And I think Scott covered all the traffic issues. There's a lot of information in the material about with that, and the city engineer provided a lot of information as well. A3, the proper operation of the conditional use will be ensured by providing and maintaining adequate and appropriate utilities, fire protection, drainage, parking, and loading, and other necessary site improvements. Scott, could you address a couple of these things? We touched on utilities a little bit, but if you could get into that a little bit, fire protection, so forth.
Sure, because we are on the city's, Bangor Water District's system, there are hydrants internal to the project that'll provide fire protection. None of the structures themselves needs to be sprinkled, so just a standard fire protection like any other neighborhood is what's applicable and will be put in place. And the other thing was
Parking.
No, parking. We have the parking requirement is 1.5 per unit, I believe. Yeah, right there. Parking 1.5 spaces per unit times 60 is 90 spaces. We're providing 120 spaces. So we actually have 50% more than what's needed. 25% more, sorry. It's a numbers thing with engineers, right, John?
Okay, any questions so far? All right. So I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on this next one because it took up a lot of the planning board's time last time around, and that has to do with building bulk and so forth. So I'm going to read the standard, and I'm going to try to slow myself down because I have a tendency to try to read things fast. And this is 165-9A4. The proposed use, although not appropriate for every site in the zone, is appropriate for the location for which it is sought because the proposed use will conform to the general physical development pattern of the immediate area as to architectural style, building bulk and extent, and intensity of use. As to architectural style, the applicant must show that the proposed structure conforms to the exterior facade, roof lines, shape, and materials used on buildings in the immediate area. As to building bulk, the applicant shall cause their proposed building to conform to the height and existing ratio of land area to building area for other properties in the immediate area. For purposes of this chapter, the term immediate area shall include all properties located within the same block and within 500 feet of the site of the proposed use. All right. Do we need to repeat that? All right, we're gonna do a little show and tell here. Ryan, if you could open up that other PDF document. Okay. Can I get my friend Scott to
Sure.
talk about what this is?
So this, for the purposes of the conditional use, shows the subject lot in the middle, and this shaded area is an offset of 500 feet in all directions. So with all of the considerations for this standard, that is the area we were looking at. Of course, a lot of it on this side is the I-95 corridor. And it has a variety of lots from very small to very large across Essex Street. So there's definitely there's not what you'd call a conformity or a consistency in the neighborhood, if you want to call the neighborhood the 500-foot radius.
So Scott, there's some math that's going to be involved here. What did you do with a lot that straddled the 500-foot line?
We included it. So other than the one thing we did not include, because it actually would have helped us, was across the interstate, this large development, which is not residential. But everything else in here, we used everything if it touched the 500-foot line. So there are areas where here, especially only part of a lot was in, but we included those lots.
Hey, Ryan, could you pull up the link with the photos? Given the time of year, we didn't think a site visit would be much fun. So we have went out and took photos of properties that fell within the 500-foot immediate area under this section. I don't have this correlated with a particular lot. I could do that, but I can represent to you now that what I'm about to show you are all buildings that are within that 500-foot immediate area, as Scott described. So scroll down to the next one. So you can see here, here's a lot that's got obviously a two-story home on it. It's got another detached building, a couple of different large buildings on that particular lot. Then the third one in the lower corner. So here we are. We've got another structure. I can't tell whether there's a second story on that one or not from this particular angle. Asphalt shingled roof. There's another home. You could see it's a little bit covered by the trees on the upper left-hand corner, but that's quite clearly a second story in that home, a swimming pool and so forth, asphalt shingles. Looks to be a different type of roof style, and then also a large structure on the back of that, and seems to be an overhang as well. Two-story home. Two-story home. Ranch. Raised ranch, I guess. That's a two-story home. That's solar panels on this roof. You see a second story with dormers. Two-story home, gambrel roof. Two stories. Keep going. Metal roof. Two stories. Metal roof. Metal roof, second story. Keep going. Two stories, metal roof. Keep going. 2 stories, metal roof. 1.5 stories. Duplex. One story. 2 stories. 2 stories. 2 stories. Upstairs. Upstairs. The one with upstairs. All right, I think that's enough. I think you get the picture. It's a lot of variation in terms of height, a lot of variation in terms of roof structures, in terms of facades, which makes sense. It's a place that's been developed over a number of decades. When you look at 165-9A4, it doesn't say it needs to be identical to the neighborhood. It needs to conform to the general physical development pattern. And when the court, and I would defer to your lawyer to advise you on that, when the judge weighed in on whether you erred in how you interpreted 165-9A4, said, no, you didn't. So I'd ask that you apply the same approach that you took last year. And I think in this particular case, you've got more information about the actual surrounding areas. People can talk about what their houses look like or what their neighbors' houses look like. But I think a picture is more important. There's at least 22 houses in the immediate area that are 2 stories. There's a lot of evidence last year that that is not the case. Hardly any 2 stories out there. It's just not true. The evidence shows that. I don't think I've got anything else to say about 165-9A4, unless you have any questions. Okay. All right, now we go back to 165-99 again. And 99D1D, little d, says such site development receives approval under Article XV1. That's your land development standards. That's in 165-114. So 165-14 has requirements A through J. I don't believe J is applicable, but I'm going to ask my friend Scott to come back up. One 14 says, when reviewing any plans for approval of a land development project under this chapter, the planning board shall determine whether an application meets the following standards. Subdivisions. If a subdivision, the planning board shall apply the criteria established under 4404, as it shall be amended, and the requirements of Article XV 111 of this chapter. XV 111, subdivision standards under 128, which you've already walked through. Anything to say about that, Scott?
Do not.
Okay. B, on-site parking, loading, and access. The applicant must show that the proposed parking and loading layout, including the appurtenant drives, turnarounds, maneuvering areas, and on-site travel lanes, are arranged in a reasonable and safe configuration, including the provision for safe pedestrian travel on all on-site uses.
And this standard is geared more towards, if we were putting in a Walgreens or a Walmart with maneuvering areas for loading and access and that stuff. But we meet this just in that we have a 2-way in and out of this street. So there's no dead ends, no congestion. And in the street itself is designed to meet the private street standards of the city of Bangor.
Driveways. The applicant must show that all proposed access drives from the site to any public right of way are reasonably necessary and safe. The planning board may limit the number and location of access points to ensure that access to and egress from the site is safe and will have a minimum impact on vehicles traveling in any public right of way or private street.
Again, I think the city is convinced, as are we, that having the two connections on either end are much better. Emergency vehicle access, just vehicular access in general. So I think that is taken care of that way.
Next item is stormwater management.
The design is in, it's been reviewed by city staff, and the chapter 500 DEP permit is in place.
Outdoor display, storage and lighting.
Not applicable. It's not a commercial site, so there's not going to be any outdoor storage or display areas.
Landscaping of unpaved areas or other treatment of the site. Landscaping shall include as a minimum the following. And there's A through 6. I'm gonna not read that right now. Could you just address it generally?
Sure, in general, I mean, we're retaining all the trees around the outside edge that we can that are outside the limits of grading. And where there was nothing between the abutters and the project, we're adding the buffer that's required for the city screening standard.
And so in the standard here, F1 says development must be properly screened to avoid unreasonable adverse effects on adjacent properties.
Right.
Next is building location. The applicant must show that the location of the building meets all required setbacks and is situated to avoid unreasonable adverse effects on adjacent properties or public rights of way.
We meet all the setbacks on the sides and the frontage, and the buildings have been kept where they were most efficiently located to avoid any adverse effects that we could, and use the topography as it was is deemed best suitable for the project.
Next, environmental impacts where competent evidence demonstrates that there exists within 250 feet of the limits of a proposed development site, which may or may not coincide with the property line. An historic site, significant wildlife habitat, or rare or irreplaceable natural area, the applicant must show that the proposed development will not have an unreasonable adverse effect.
Contact with state agencies. There are no mapped resources in this area of the project that are that will be impacted.
Next, water resource and shoreline preservation.
We are not close to tidal waters and not discharging or adjacent to any pond, lake, stream, or brook.
And the next criteria is whether it's subject to SLOTA under 38 MRSA, section 481, et cetera.
It is not subject to SLOTA.
Why not?
Why not? It doesn't meet the standard of either has to be either if it was commercial, be 5 acres and so many lots. With this type of development where it's a single lot, it would have to be 3 acres of impervious area, and we have 2.89, I think. So it is less than 3 acres of impervious area, and that includes the roads, the driveways, and the houses.
Any questions?
Thank you. Item E. I agree. You sort of skipped over it because it implies that it has to do with maybe a commercial facility or whatnot, but it's not entirely that. The last sentence that says all outdoor lighting shall be designed, installed, and maintained to avoid unreasonable adverse effects from light pollution.
Your package has the specs for the security lighting. They'll be on the front of each
I
building.
knew that. I just wanted to make sure
Okay, thank you.
it wasn't brushed over so that we didn't get to it later on and bump up against it. Thank you.
And I think that's it in terms of the standards that we have flagged. There may be others that pop up and we'll address them through the process. That actually didn't take as much time as I thought it was going to take. It's probably going to take you longer, I suspect, under your attorney's guidance, but any questions for the applicant? Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to working through this process.
All right. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it. Board members, I think with that, unless there is any further question from board members at this time, that we are done with this evening's business. I do want to remind everyone that we will have a meeting a week from tonight. We will be looking to public comment at that time. As you can tell, considering it's 20 minutes of 10 right now, if we had gotten to that tonight, it would really chewed up some late night hours and probably had some sleepy eyes. So anything else, folks? If not, yes, Member Brush.
Do you expect any additional submissions from staff for next week's meeting?
Staff. Director Krieg?
If anything, we may have updated information or something, so there might be a packet next week, yeah.
One question.
John?
There's wetlands on the property. I mean, you've talked about that. When were those delineated? Who delineated them?
Wetlands were originally delineated in 2006 with the original project that went before the city. When we went through the DEP process, there was a question about wetlands and wetland disturbance. So they had us reevaluate it last year as part of the project, and it was done by Moist Environmental Services here in Bangor.
Member Brush, did you get your question answered?
Really hear the answer.
Oh, okay. I think she said maybe.
Yeah, there might be some updated information or, something like that. There might be a small packet this week. And your minutes from the previous meeting will be in your packet too, so.
Yeah, and I'll have to put together some sort of an agenda. Okay, I'm just gonna thank everyone for being here tonight. I know it's a long journey and I know it's been a long journey, but I appreciate it. I appreciate your input this evening and thinking about how we're doing this. This meeting is adjourned. We will see some of you, I'm sure, next week. Thank you.